Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast, sponsored by NordVPN and Saily. The link for both of those are in the description down below, next to the mailbag. So if you want to take part in the Q&A, like today's, that's where you can get involved with the show. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by John Townley, to look back at the FA Cup exit, look ahead to Leeds United, and answer some silly bits and pieces as well as always. John, firstly, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'd be absolutely devastated if that was our only chance at silverware. And that's not all we're going to say about the FA Cup, but that is my overriding feeling. I'm frustrated and disappointed, but I'm not devastated. I don't know if other people are, but that's how I feel. Purely because we're in the Europa League.
Do you agree with my assessment, and we are straight into this, of the post-match show, that there is now extra pressure on us winning the Europa League?
Partly, but for me, no. Just simply because I don't... And I said this in my little walk and talk thing, that I've never seen Villa win a trophy, but there's also a lot of people in that stadium on Saturday, who had never seen Villa win the FA Cup. So it almost feels like, I know we can win the FA Cup, but equally we've never even come. I know we've obviously been in finals and whatnot, relatively recently. But when the season starts, apart from Matt Kendrick, I'm not too sure there's that many people who think that we're actually going to do it. So I sort of just think it's a big bonus if we go far in the FA Cup. I never actually expect anything. And I know I shouldn't expect anything in the Europa League, but with the manager that we have, and with respect to the opponents that we're playing, we're not playing the best team in the Premier League or the second best team in the Premier League or even the fifth. It's mainly the fifth best team in Italy, the sixth best team in Germany, and so on. And obviously that gives you no right to win it whatsoever. You have to prove your worth on the pitch. But I didn't enter this season thinking, you know what, we've got a great chance of winning the FA Cup. I thought, you know what, we've got a great chance of winning the Europa League. So I've only been focusing on that. And it's also because we've played it since the start of the season. We've played, 8 games in it already, and it's a knockout format now, whereas the FA Cup is literally, if your goalkeeper makes a terrible decision halfway through a game, you're probably going to go out if you're playing a good side, and we did. So that's why the FA Cup is so... We say it every year, don't we, Dan? I will concentrate on the FA Cup once we maybe get through a few rounds, because you never know what's going to happen in a single game. Just like on Saturday, I think the first half we were, pretty good, but then one moment of madness and you're out the cup. And that's that.
I suppose that argument would also be true now of the Europa League. Now it's knockout as well, then. That we're like, you've got to get to the final, you've got to win it, you're the favourites, etc. But somebody could do something daft in the semi-final.
Yeah, no, in any football match that can happen. It's true, that's knockout football, but you've got 2 legs. There's, 180 minutes of football to be played. I just think it's more... Yeah, I'm not going to kind of get into the finer details of it, but I think people know what I mean when I talk about that. Can I just quickly say, on the game itself, and this isn't a bitter comment at all, well, at least I hope it's not coming across that way. I've seen a lot of Newcastle fans suggesting that was either our best team that they played, or that they played us off the park. And I'm confused about that, because I thought in the first half we were pretty comfortable. I don't think Newcastle had a shot on target. But I'm hearing, Walter Marder's the next big thing at number 10, and this is exactly how it needs to be playing. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure that team would have beaten many Premier League sides. It was only until we went down to 10 men, and fair play, they took advantage of that. We can't do that. But it was more the point of it. I kept seeing it that Newcastle are, this is it. We've finally sort of found the formula. That confused me, to be honest. I thought in the first half it was a pretty even game, and I know our goal was probably offside.
It was
should have had a red card as well. Yeah, well, I actually think it was a little bit tighter than what it seemed. I think Dan Bone was maybe straying himself, but I agree, it was offside, is what I think. And we should have been down to 10 men as well. But just the thought of Newcastle sort of done a job on us, so I'm not sure about that at all, to be honest. But hey.
Okay, all right, let's get into some questions then. This one I've included for something slightly different. I'll explain in a sec. From Andy Lockhead's Combe. I was born 8 months after we last won the FA Cup. So like most Villa fans alive today, I've never seen us lift that trophy, but I do feel now football has moved on. And for me, the FA Cup is all romance and nostalgia. Winning a European trophy is much more relevant in today's game with the financial rewards and wider recognition across the continent. Do you agree? Now, I've not included this as just say, what do you think of this comment? Do you agree with that, yes or no? Which you can answer if you'd like to. Yeah. But just as a kind of, to open up that debate a little bit of, are you pro or against the FA Cup, for want of a better phrase, of Matt seemed to suggest it was a generational thing, that younger fans like us that have never seen us win anything, we probably don't care and go, oh, well, it's just the FA Cup. Whereas the older generation will say, that's the be-all and end-all. It's English football's most famous trophy. But this was just one example, as there were others as well. This person who sent this message in is 68 or 69 years old. I can't work out the maths. They also don't value the FA Cup in the modern game either. So, again, as I said on the post-match, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. Ultimately, we're out of the competition anyway. It ain't going to happen now till at least next year. What do you make of that kind of attitude from different generations? Is it as binary as that?
I fully understand it from both perspectives, and obviously we're a certain generation, so we'll try not to sort of just go into one way, because I understand that if it's the only trophy you haven't seen Villa win, then it's massively important and probably the only thing that you actually care about. Maybe it's not even Champions League. For me, I think the Europa League is, I said it previously in a different episode, that I think sometimes that can be undervalued. Maybe because we were in the Champions League, I don't know, but yeah, it's still a European competition. I think the Conference League's a bit of a farce, to be perfectly honest with you. And I said that when we qualified for it, so that's not me being, you can go back to that episode if you like. I remember saying that if we put that next to the Champions League, we've made a mockery of it, because I don't think the Conference League is worth its weight, to be perfectly honest. And even if I would say that even if we get to the final, and yeah, I'd love us to win silverware and I'd love us to win the Conference League, great, but equally, don't even put it like near it for me. It's not. It's not that. But I do think the Europa League is. So, yeah, I value the Europa League highly. The FA Cup, of course, yeah, we all value it highly. But, okay, yeah, it's difficult. I do think it is a generation thing. Ask any Crystal Palace fan how they feel, and it's completely different. But I think that's a difference in clubs. Yeah, like we all would love to see Villa win the FA Cup. But I almost feel like because some like us maybe or other people, we're not so like, oh, you have to win the FA Cup, like, it be all and end all, like it has to happen. Because you're not like that, it almost comes across as if you don't really care, when it's not true. I'm just not head over heels for it, because like we've just seen, we've been knocked out of the fourth round because the keeper's made a silly error, and that's that. There's no we've done nothing in the FA Cup really, have we? We obviously got to the final, in the last decades or something. We got to the final 10 years ago, is it now?
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, a bit more than that, 11 years. But I don't feel much towards the FA Cup because I've never really seen Villa do anything in it. So maybe that's part of it too. Whereas other people have obviously, been alive for many more years than us for a start, and have grown up with that being one of the most important weekends of the year. The third round of the FA Cup for us, it's not that. I think, for example, this weekend has been pretty boring, to be honest with you. So it's Sunday's game, Arsenal-Wigan, that's the live match. I think that's a tragedy. Like, who cares? with respect, it's great for Wigan fans, but you're 4-0 down after 20 minutes, and okay.
Is it great for Wigan fans?
Well, yeah, exactly. But like, Grimsby, Wolves, terrible muddy pitch. Maybe some people like that. I don't.
I can't remember who I saw this from. There was a social media post I saw yesterday saying, apart from watching the Villa game, it feels like an international break weekend. I don't care enough about the fixtures.
And don't get me wrong, if the fixtures were better, I was about to say, good Championship side playing against like a good Premier League team. Well, we saw that, and Chelsea won 4-0. So, yeah, like, I don't know. I guess if Hull actually put up a fight and took the game to extra time or whatever and won, then we'd all be saying, oh, that was good. But
the magic.
But it didn't. So yeah, obviously had the magic of the cup with Macclesfield and Palace.
Yeah,
but again, so it's great for Macclesfield. I'm not that fussed because Palace, they've won it. They're in Europe. Got bigger fish to fry, to be honest, because they've already won the thing. Like, it's frustrating for them, and they'd be embarrassed, but they'll move on. The
video that we did pre-FA Cup, and we're going to move on from this, by the way, at some point and talk about other things, but a few of the rebuttals we got back to that was like, I'm fed up of football just being about the money, and like, yeah, you want to be in the Champions League because it's good for revenue. Like, football's about winning, it's about trophies.
Yeah, it is,
and we absolutely get all that. I am as desperate as the next man and woman to win a trophy. But if you are, I've said this on the post-match, if you're worried that Unai Emery might be tempted by another football club, he'll be less tempted if we're in the Champions League more often than not, because we're competing at the top level. And that will eventually allow us to build revenue and spend. And the theory is, and the theory may be incorrect, but let's try and disprove it first before we write it off. If we're in the Champions League for the next 5 years, the theory would be you build up a good squad that is capable of going far in cup competitions every year. It isn't a flash in the pan if you get to a final and that was exciting, but you might lose anyway. And then you're not in Europe the next year. The manager goes, the player goes, and then you punch up above your weight every so often and you return to a mid-table club. Because without Unai Emery, Villa are a mid-table club, by the way, in the current landscape of modern-day football with the revenues and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Getting into the Champions League is so important. And I don't like that. We've said many times, and for those that are just like, oh, these guys, I saw somebody suggest that the way we talk about football makes it sound like this is just a job and we don't care about Villa, which is mental, by the way. But this is what it is. We feel like accountants, right? Talking about FFP and PSR and SCR and rules and blah, blah, blah. That's what the game is now.
If we want to kind of balance that out, I would rather win the FA Cup than qualify for the Champions League. Genuinely, I want to see Villa win a trophy. That's great, but it's just if we're talking about it now in the third or fourth round, we'll see what happens when Villa get further down the line, like last season. Absolutely, again in an airport celebrating the draw, and I got some stick for that off at certain people.
Number 1, Preston at home.
2.
Will play.
2.
Come on, Danny Murphy. Yes, it's Villa. Get in there. Oh, I love that.
Respect Preston. Firstly, this is one of those things where you clip up and you put it out, and then we lose to Preston. I wouldn't care if that embarrassed me, because this is the draw that everyone wanted. It's nothing more than a fantastic draw. I'm absolutely delighted with that.
Like we were buzzing, and
we weren't getting people saying you didn't come at the FA Cup last year. We were bang up for it.
We also went in on the club for what was a shambolic performance on the pitch, and with the tifo and everything, it felt like the club didn't turn up for the semi-final. Obviously, the fans did. It's just the FA Cup. It takes a long time to get going, and it's like third round, fourth round, fifth round. So it's okay, But equally, I know that in the third round we could get knocked out, as we did for like 8 years in a row. That's been my diet of the FA Cup for my lifetime. I've really not seen much. So if we compete well and we almost quarterfinal, semi-final, final, like we're doing well almost every year in the FA Cup and we're getting quite far, maybe that would be different. But I've seen nothing really to suggest in my lifetime that we are going to win that thing anytime soon. I just haven't.
It's a bit like me asking you to imagine a new colour, isn't it? Villa's success in the FA Cup. Try and imagine a new colour for me.
I'd love to imagine that new colour.
I can't picture Villa winning the FA Cup.
And people were saying, well, you can't picture you winning Europa League. I can, because Unai has won it 4 times.
Yeah, I do.
We have the best squad. We have the best manager. We have the biggest budget. We have the home legs in the second rounds. I can vividly see it. I can. We got to the semi-final of the Conference League, and we really should have got through, but we know different reasons why we didn't.
I can see that happening. Either, by the way.
Yeah, as a club. I can see those things. And by the way, we're in the FA Cup every single year of my life. The Europa League, only this time? I haven't seen us be in Europe and constantly underperform. I haven't seen that. I've seen us get to a semi-final in Europe. I've seen us get to the quarter-final of the Champions League. Why the hell would I be now saying, you know what, I'm not sure we're going to get past the round of 16 of the Europa League? Of course not. I think we can. I know we can win the Europa League. Whether we do or we don't, I don't know. That's football. Let's find out. But we can go far. The FA Cup, I don't know. One draw, one bad mistake from Bizot, and you're out. And it'll be the same next year. Third round, fourth round, fifth round. All right. If you're one game away from Wembley and you win it, okay, well that's when I get excited and it feels like something. Before that, it just feels like you're winning games to get to somewhere that is completely, for me anyway, it's like Narnia. I've never been there before. I don't really know what that feels like. Even when we got to the final against Arsenal, I think we all knew we were going to get battered on that day, and we did. And that has been my FA Cup experience.
Yeah. Should we do question 2?
Sorry.
Big Ron's dog walker's back. He says, positives from Saturday. Clearly, when Bizot joined in the summer, the goalkeeping coach neglected to share footage from Martinez's calamitous clowning at Old Trafford in May, or perhaps Bizot might have stayed on the field on Saturday. However, on the positive side, the midfield trio of Onana, Louise and Barkley look like they could hold the fort until McGinn and Tielemans return, if they can stay healthy for more than one game at a time. I took a lot more positives than negatives from Saturday's game. It will be nice to eliminate the red mist that seems to descend in the Villa box far too regularly, though. Yeah, let's focus on some positives a little bit, as difficult as that may seem. And again, this podcast, there are other topics to discuss, but we are, however far in so far, and we're only talking about Saturday's game. We've already done a post-match, so we don't need to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but we know Bizot's decision was madness. We know Dean probably should have been sent off. We know our goal was offside, but take all those things away if you can. Were there any positives for you, John? I saw you player ratings, so maybe not.
No, not too many positives. My only positive really was just Tammy scoring, which is good. I class that as his second goal in as many games. But I do, just simply because
he's put the ball in the back of the net and wasn't aware that it was ruled out.
Yeah. I wouldn't obviously class that literally, but I do class that as he scored twice now in 2 home games in pretty much all but fact, which is important. I understand that, but you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's a positive, and I do think he played well in that first half. I liked his link play. He seems more athletic, I think, than when we had him previously. I don't know. When he stretches his legs, he seems quite agile and he can cover ground quite quickly. Is the sort of vibe I get. So on the counter attack, I think that would be useful. Of course, really in both boxes as well. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Tammy, and I expected him to make an impact of sorts, but I've been probably more encouraged than what I thought it would have been, to be honest. So, Watkins has definitely got a fight in his hands to keep his place in that starting 11. And as we saw last season with Rashford, very different player to Tammy Abraham, but Watkins' place isn't safe, and it shouldn't be either. I think that was my only positive, to be honest. Again, in the first half, I don't think we were tremendous, but equally, we weren't getting done by Newcastle. If you just saw 3-1 and Villa were down to 10 men, you'd probably look at the 10 men part. But, I just think of the first half, we've just shot ourselves in the foot. It's I just do think that is a calamitous error, which in the end went punished. I would say that I do think in the second half we should have been probably a bit better than what we were.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But we know the reasons why, and as you say, I don't want to kind of reflect too much on that game or the negatives. We've been through it now. But yeah, I'd say Tammy scoring is the positive.
Okay. In a name, because we'll talk about this at the back end of the week, Leeds United on Saturday, who plays up front? Watkins or Tammy?
Tammy.
Okay. We'll discuss that at the end of the week and see if you still think that. Frankie Knuckles, are Villa now shooting ourselves in the foot so regularly that it's a major risk to our ambitions? I don't think I've ever seen such a collection of shocking giveaway goals and other errors in a single season. Again, spoke about this before. Our goal catalogue against... There's some howlers in there of just us being crap. At some period in professional football, every goal is a mistake somewhere. They might not be as blatant as passing the ball directly to your opponent, but something's gone wrong for the other team to
standing still at the vitality.
Yeah. But Villa, their mistakes do seem to be, quote, easier things to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
Concentration, better decision making, things like that. That is a problem, and I fully agree. For Frankie Knuckles' comment, if we are in a Europa League big quarter-final, semi-final, second leg at home, Villa Park advantage. Maybe we've won the first leg. Brilliant. Do something stupid in the first few minutes of the second leg, though, and it can change. It can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know. I don't know what Bizot was thinking. I really don't. Utterly bizarre. It was similar in a way to that John Victor. The John Victor one was worse. The Forest keeper. That was bizarre.
I was watching on telly, so like you can obviously see the picture there. Right? So I assume he was pretty high up anyway. But the camera is panning this way because Bailey does what he does, and it pans this way. And it's like, hell, Bizot's there, like just out of nowhere, like
it's terrible. Yeah, it's a rush of blood, and I mean it's both goalkeepers who have done that now. So I don't linger too much on that, but no, it's obviously a concern. I don't know if there's something in, and this isn't to do with Bizot, and it's not really to do with Luca Dean because he's switched off completely, but just in general because. I think defensively we have improved, even though there are some individual mistakes there still. We're not the only team to make individual mistakes, but then also, I don't know, is it something to do with that we are trying to concentrate for 90 minutes and usually we are doing pretty well, and that maybe there's just one lapse and that's what kills us? It is, high levels in the Premier League and in the Europa League as well, that you are probably going to be punished if you make that error. I don't know how to explain this, but any goal that we concede, you say that cheers. It's true though. They've been dafter errors than what you'd usually expect. But equally, had we not made that error against Brentford, had Luca Dean not made that error against Bournemouth, we'd probably be talking about 4 or 5 clean sheets in 6 games, and we'd be saying, "Wow, defensively we're incredible." So I would almost try and take the positive of, well, for 90 minutes usually we are actually defending quite well. It's just the lapses that we need to improve, and I'd rather be in that position than being wide open and
getting carved open through every game.
by the structure of the team or something. So I don't think it's a major problem, but it's certainly something that's worrying.
John Townley's alarm clock writes in to say, "Hi lads, ding 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 ding. I've been thinking about the loss to Newcastle in the FA Cup, about the Europa League, and what John has said about it, that we must win it, and disagree with him that it's must win."
Oh, no, stop. John's alarm clock, stop. I say that a lot, but no, we have to win the Euro. We have to win the. There's nothing that John's alarm clock can say here that would change my mind, unless it's he personally wins, and even then, I'd be,
I love, by the way, that like if we ever clip these things up, the names that get sent in to us, that was a mental little clip then, because the username that was John Townley's alarm clock.
No one. That's not good promotion really for the podcast.
It's not, is it? What's this guy just ranting about? Saying his own name? They say anyway. I think the expectation can only be to reach the final, as you can't always predict a one-off game, especially given what we just saw, the impact of a red card and terrible officiating. Wondering what your thoughts are. Now, I agree to a certain extent with both of you, actually, you and your alarm clock. But I disagree that if the expectation is just to reach the final, once you're there,
why would it? Yeah, what we're supposed to do? Turn up and just
that doesn't make any sense. If you're there, like you've got to.
No, I understand. I understand the point that's being made in terms of, well, you can't say, because in a final, yeah, you're right, but equally. What we're trying to do here, we're trying to get to a final, win the thing. It's two very different things, because we may as well be knocked out in the league phase if we're going to think about that, like the pain of losing to Olympiacos, the pain of, but yeah, in a different way of losing to PSG. There's a lot of pride with that. There is an immeasurable amount of pain that will come with not winning the Europa League for me. I know, presuming for a lot of hopefully for all of us, of not winning the Europa League. It's do or die to the season, is what I would say. You have to win silverware. If we don't this season, then there's more campaigns to come, I hope, under Unai Emery. But this is just one trophy that we need to win.
Next comment is from Nicola Zaniolo's Sainsbury's bag, which I don't know whether I've missed a reference. There's a picture of him with a Sainsbury's bag somewhere, but completely random. Anyway, they say, amongst a few others actually, is there any update on McGinn and Tielemans? It all seems to have gone very quiet and no updates on their progress are to be found anywhere. A glimmer of hope on their comeback would be appreciated.
Yeah, I asked Unai about this on Friday, but didn't even bother to put it out because... well, I
you said they're back next week and you just kept it to yourself.
Yeah. No, he didn't. I asked how many more weeks do you expect for both? Do you know when that would be? And he said he kind of thought to himself a little bit and thought, no, but we have enough players to sort of do without them for now, and he's happy with the midfield options and those things. But I understand that, but I wanted a number. So there's no reporting that can be done from that. And it's not a case of, Unai's keeping his cards close to his chest. It's literally that he either literally doesn't know and he doesn't want to say 2 weeks and actually it's 3, and that means he misses maybe 2 more games, or he just didn't want to say in that moment, and that's fine. So ask him again. The next time
would you ask him again?
Oh yeah, because it's not far now until McGinn should be back. McGinn, I think the kind of best case scenario when he got the injury was that Chelsea game. Best case scenario, that may not be the case. It may be, hopefully, United at the latest, I would like to think. And then Tielemans, we were always sort of looking after the international break, and I've always kind of pinpointed that Forest game as the Forest away match as probably his comeback. If he comes back before then he's done well in his recovery, but also, having that break of the international break, and I hope he doesn't go to Belgium even if he is fit, then that would allow him the extra space, of course, to recover.
Chris Kavanagh's optician said, "Hi lads, recently started listening to the pod in the last couple of months and now I don't miss an episode. After being dumped out the FA Cup, it left me wondering why we always seem to choke in the big games with something on the line under Unai. I know we have Emi Martinez, but other than him, I don't think we have any serial winners in the squad who will get you over the line when it matters. They all just seem to be nearly men. Very good players, but don't get the job done when it matters. Am I being harsh, or is it a problem we should try and address in the summer transfer window?" Again, I think it's not as black and white as that. I think that there have absolutely been occasions when we've bottled the big occasion. I don't really like bottled, to be honest, but we'll go with it. Olympiacos, you spoke about, Crystal Palace, Man United at Old Trafford on the final day. I don't know, is Newcastle in the FA Cup fourth round a big occasion? Make your own conclusions. But there are other games where we do get over the line in a big moment. You know, we've qualified for the Champions League by winning enough football matches to do so. We've got to the Champions League quarter-final by winning enough matches to do so. There have been big moments that we've got through them, right?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think just answering that quickly, Dan, I often think the same in terms of, for example, the Old Trafford game. Well, we had to win a certain amount of matches before that. You know, in the 10 games before, our record was superb. We had to do that beforehand. However, I would also say that it is a different situation, though, because had we not beaten Bournemouth away in that run, a lot of us would have probably said, that's probably the Champions League done. But it's not a do or die, because we could have probably beaten Spurs and United and got in, or in fact, we would have. Would have we? No, we wouldn't have, sorry. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, United is everyone knows in the lead up to that, you know, the whole week before or a few days before, it's Saturday or Sunday, knockout football, you have to win. Yeah. But I don't think Newcastle's got anything to do with that mentality, if I'm being honest. Again, the keeper's just made a terrible decision, and we've that has been the reason why I've been knocked out for me. The United game was different because we were terrible from the first minute. We should have been 2 or 3 down before Martinez has made that decision. We then, everything that happened after that, we should have taken the lead in the game. We didn't, but it didn't matter. We would have still gotten the Champions League had we drawn, but we conceded straight after. So, why am I bringing this back up? But
I don't know.
But now, no, I don't think Newcastle was a question for that. What is a question? Or what will be answered, I suppose, to the question, the Europa League. That again, there's no excuse for me not to win that competition, unless maybe, as someone previously said in the final, there is I don't know, something that goes against us badly, or we get terrible injuries, or whatever it may be.
When it was definitely inside the box for a penalty. Like, those things can clearly happen.
Well, without VAR, there are mitigating circumstances, and we've had some bad injury luck as well. But we will have Tielemans and McGinn back for the quarterfinals. Hopefully McGinn back for the round of 16. But even without Kamara, probably our best player, or one of our best players, we are still, for me, a better team than everyone else. We just need to prove it.
I do think some of it is overblown a little bit because, again, hypothetically, if we were to win the Europa League this season, we go, Villa, mentality, they got over the line. Finally, they've won something, right? They are a big club because they win things. They spend 30 years, massive achievement. And what if you lose the third round of the FA Cup to a lower league side because you play bad on the day? So you then go, the mentality of the club. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't fix things overnight.
No, you are true. You are correct, Dan. I just think it's when you get in those positions again. For example, we've been in the semi-final. We've been in a semi-final for 2 years in a row. We are coming. I feel we're getting a bit closer to doing something. And for that reason, I think once you get those positions again, instead of us wobbling and thinking, you know what, we haven't won a trophy for 30 years, we haven't won the FA Cup for 70 or 69 years. When we get in those positions again, I think we'll think, okay, well, what can we take from winning? How many games are we going to play in the Europa League if we win it? Like 15 or something? That's a proper, 8 league phase games, knockouts. Yeah. The FA Cup is obviously a short amount of period, but very different. For me, it's the latter point in the competition where you can match teams like Chelsea, Man United, and others who win trophies all the time, even when they're not particularly good. I just think it's another hurdle, I suppose, that we need to get over as a club.
Okay. All right. A couple of different bits then. From Steve in Australia, first of all. I always say Australia as if I'm just about to feign an Australian accent. I almost went for it then, but didn't.
Class.
In Australia, the Aussie rules footballers. Aussie rules? Do you know what this is? Aussie rules footballers.
You don't know what that is? You don't know what Aussie rules footballers?
No. The primary methods of kicking. Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. I'm aware of that. Just to know it's called that.
Is that what they're called? Footballers?
Aussie rules footballers, yeah, apparently. They often appear on many fan podcasts. Are you allowed to have Aston Villa footballers on your podcast? I'm sure John is well connected now and could make it happen. Would love to hear from the players directly. Love the show. Up the Villa. Can you get us any current players, John?
Very, very nearly did we in the summer. We obviously did. Oh, well, I say we. Unfortunately, I can't say we. Which sounds very big-headed, and I'm not like that. spoke to Tielemans and McGinn out in the States tonight, but we couldn't put that on the podcast. That was just on sort of personal places. And no, that's club decision. The players themselves do a lot of different broadcast interviews
More
and
often with broadcast rights holders, right?
Yeah, and Villa have a lot of them to tick over. In fact, at Bodymore on Friday, there was Australian TV. A few people walked in, and I asked them who that is, and they come from all the way from Australia. So
wow.
Yeah, it kind of goes to show that there's obviously we obviously see Sky Sports TNT, don't we? But it's a big world out there. Can we get players on? That's completely up to the club. We have done different things before. We did cash, didn't we, a couple of years ago? But again, it's completely it's completely club policy. Whether the players would want to come on or not, again, club policy.
We have a playlist on YouTube called Exclusive Interviews. We've got former managers, former players. The key is if you scroll through that list of 40 interviews, none of them were currently at the club whilst they did the interviews. That should tell you.
It's not just a Villa. I mean, to be fair, Villa have been good enough that when I interview a player, even though I'm a written journalist, they will allow it to be filmed. And again, I'm hoping that people had watched that McGinn one, probably especially. That was a nice sit down with the skipper ahead of the new season. But it's not just a Villa thing. You look across the Premier League. I don't see many Premier League players going on podcasts. That I know we are obviously a fan podcast, but we are a media brand as well, connected to Birmingham Live and Reach. So yeah, but obviously there's not too much of that elsewhere. It's more of a Premier League thing, I suppose, rather than anything else. Yeah,
okay. Gareth Southgate's big club ambitions writes in to say, moving away from the Newcastle debacle to transfer issues. If England have a good World Cup and Villa's 2-3 Lion stars finally get deserved international attention, which of Konsa or Rodgers, I didn't even read this one all the way through before, which of Konsa or Rodgers would you be more willing to sell for 70 million and above bracket to help with Villa's financial issues if you had to pick one? Great show, keep it up. Damn you, Gareth Southgate's big club ambitions for this. I just read this as like, if we get when I put it in my document, I read it as if England play well in the World Cup, we'll get more attention from our players. Like, how are we going to deal with that? Is that what the question was going? Not who do you want to sell?
I would firstly say that Rodgers' value would be more than 70 million. And I think Konsa's value would be less than that. Simply because he would turn 29 in
I don't think anyone actually
October.
pays 70 for a Konsa.
So
let's just say for argument's sake of this, because this is hypothetical anyway,
okay.
The transfer fee for either is 80 million. It's not about the transfer fee here, because I agree. I think Villa would want more, like 100 for Rodgers, and would probably take anything over 50 for Konsa.
Just ignore any fee, basically.
Ignore the fee. It's basically
if it's a nice fee for either.
Yeah. Who are you more willing to let go?
Well, I think you have to talk about the fee still. So
I think you talk about the age.
Yeah, man. What about the third one? Could be Watkins, by the way. He did score the goal to get England into a major final, but
not sure he'll be in that bracket.
I think both of them would obviously be incredibly difficult to replace if you sort of go through it. Konsa, 29 in October. I've said before, Villa need to know when the right time is to sell.
Yeah,
and we'd love to say that we never sell them, but we know that that's not the world that we live in. That Villa have to operate in. Or do you look at Rodgers and say that the money that some teams could offer could just be far too much to turn down? And I think some fans will say, "Oh, keep him at all costs." And again, I understand that, but it's a very difficult or very different situation if you're the director at a club who receive an offer of, let's just say, argument's sake, £110 million because he's had a good World Cup. Yeah, but a lot of fans will also say, "Oh, I hope we don't sell him."
Yeah, I wouldn't want to, but
and even for £110 million, some people were saying, "Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather sell other players because maybe we could." But it's it's a horrible question, really, and one that we don't really want to sort of linger over. But at the same time, sort of before, our players will get interest, whether we get in the Champions League or not. Obviously, if we're in the Champions League, we can command more and we have more resistance. But we've also spoken out of Villa do have an ageing squad, and so what it seems to be, it's always Konsa when I talk about these things. It's not I want to keep Edric Konsa at all pretty much at all costs this summer, unless a ridiculous bid comes in. And even then, that would be very difficult to replace him. So it's not that. It's more so other players in the team. At some point, we are going to have to bring through more of a younger crop of players. And I was quite happy to see us be interested in Bergvall, for example, at Tottenham.
Yeah.
You know, in the January window. But you've got someone like Douglas Luiz, who's what, 20? Is he 28? I think he's. Oh no, he's
28.
He's older than that.
Oh.
He's 28 in May. Yeah.
Is he?
So,
Douglas Luiz is
yeah.
28 in May.
Yeah, but this is my point, Danny. He creeps up on us. Konsa's 29 in October. Luiz is 28 in May. Watkins is 30 now. McGinn is 30 now. We have an aging squad, and that is a problem. And it's a problem only for me because of the transfer values and the market again that we operate in. Is it worth signing Luiz even for £20 million if he turns 28? Which, again, isn't old, but you're not going to sell him for much, and it's not a big price. Yeah. But can you get a younger player for a similar fee? You know, those are the things that we need to weigh up. So I'm not going to answer the question, but you can sort of take what we're saying there. You can if you want, Danny. It wasn't named.
The answer is Konsa, I think.
The answer is Konsa for you, is it?
Yeah. I think just off age. Like, I'm not suggesting just because he's younger, you're going to get to keep Rodgers for the next 8 years.
Let me say to you that we get 55 million for Konsa, or 100 million for Morgan Rodgers. Is it still? Because what does £50 million do for us in terms of revamping the team? £100 million. £100 million, you would say is game changing, but you're also losing arguably your best player.
A game changer.
Literally. And there's no guarantee that you spend that money correctly either. You know.
Yeah, I know.
Spending £100 million is difficult. It's not. How do I put it? Sesko is 70, and you got 30 million left, which is Gasson. That's what I'm talking about. It's very easy to blow that money. Palace, what of that? Brennan Johnson, Gasson, and
I saw this.
Nearly Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of money in itself. So it's mad, but £100 million doesn't get you that far these days. So we have to be careful.
Neither does 55 then.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Yeah. So, but 55 million quid for Konsa is better than £20 million for Konsa in 2 years.
Yeah, true. And this is a terrible question, so I'm going to move on. I just want to clarify, because it makes me sound thick, and I am, to be honest, in some ways. Douglas Luiz signed for Villa when he was about 23, so me being shocked that he's not 25 is stupid on my part.
No, mate.
But the concept of time is weird.
No. Had I not known that, I would have probably predicted 26 or something, because it felt like when we signed him, he was about 20, didn't it? Very young. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Couple left. King 81. Is our style of football actually good to watch? Yes, we get results, but many games do not require watching back. Slow build-up, zero wing play, constant turning back on attacking situations, most of the touches of the ball happening between goalkeeper and centre-backs in our defensive third, and too many games we struggle to have shots on target or create goal-scoring opportunities. There are many games where opponents' goalkeepers have failed to be tested or have to make an actual save to deny a goal. What is actually getting us off our seats to get excited about and create a vibrant atmosphere in the ground?
Our squad of players is not as good as... says not as good as how do I put this? Chelsea have more depth, quality and depth than Villa. You would argue probably Man United do as well. And I say this because I think it's quite easy we play effective football. I don't think it's bad to watch. Neither is it, as Matt would say, swashbuckling and this thing that we all marvel at. I don't think we'd get anywhere near as many points as we do if structurally we weren't absolutely sound, because again,
it's roughly smooth, right? Like when it's good, it's good. We've scored some great goals and we play really well in moments. But we also know there's periods where we are just
we have to play to our strength, like Arsenal do. They play to their strengths, and it's not nice to look at. But I'm also not going to do and I said this before, I've seen some people say, "Oh, it's not Arsenal's fault they're not playing good football. Like it's how their opponents set up." I'm not sure. Like we've seen, I don't know, not for me, but. Look at Man United's squad, for example. A lot of people were saying, well, I wouldn't want this player. I wouldn't want that player. Let me tell you, Unai Emery would make players like Dallo, for example, or I don't know about Agate, but other sort of players who we may, or other football fans would probably, mock or whatever. He'd make them very good. So when I say Man United have a better squad than us, what I'm trying to say is that Unai Emery would maximise that Chelsea team and the Man United team, maybe even more than what he does with the Villa team, once he has a couple of windows or something to sort of fine tune it and, do what he needs to do. But I just, the kind of point I'm trying to make is that they can maybe play some better football because they have, proper top. I know we have top quality players as well, but literally in every single position, and they have moments. Whereas, for example, when Burmo, they can recruit. He'd easily be one of our best players. And that's nothing against others, but we're working, with respect to Leon Bailey, was sort of shipped out on loan, bring him back, and is starting. Sancho couldn't really get a move anywhere until deadline day and comes to us. It's the same case for like a Lindelof, astute signing, but no one, I say no one, teams wanted him, but that move never came until deadline day. We're so financially restricted. Really, we could be playing any level of football, and if we're in third, I wouldn't have a thing to complain about. So I don't think we can talk about it. But equally, I disagree that we play bad football anyway. It might not be the best football we've ever seen, but who in the Premier League does play that football? I don't think anyone's playing that football that we probably looked at, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago and thought this is exciting and it gets bums off seats.
Yeah.
I think modern football is like that. It is a bit tedious sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's not a Villa problem for me.
No, we're, 45 minutes into this by the time I've done some editing. This might be perceived as a negative episode. We've just gone out of the cup. The questions are the questions. I'm relatively positive still about Villa's aspirations and stuff, but we are third. we were top two in the Europa League. We have things to play for this season. Could stand up being a historic one if Villa win silverware. To moan about the style of play that a team sits in third with the points gap to fourth feels a little bit. I absolutely get it, by the way, but I'm not going to do a whole episode, detailing this, that, and the other about the style of play being boring or whatever, whilst those things are also happening. If we were 10th, nothing to play for, it's like, okay, what is the point of any of this? Yeah,
and I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a moan, but as you said there, we're not going to add to it and be like, yeah, you know what? That's true. We don't play great football, and that needs to improve. I disagree. If we tried to play better football, we'd probably get worse results.
We wouldn't be first,
as a result of it. Yeah. So, genuinely not bothered.
Okay, final question of the episode from John Townley's green pen. Is that a green pen you've been holding throughout this?
It's a multi-coloured pen, isn't it?
One of those Eddie Woke, one of those Eddie Howe Woke pens that I tweeted about yesterday, and had Newcastle fans tweeting it full time, like, I don't know, you rattled over a pen. I was like, no, it's just a podcast clip, mate.
Little do you know that I got gifted this.
Somebody replied to it saying, like, oh, you're going to do a podcast on the games tonight? And I replied back with the stream, like, yeah, already done it, mate. You're going to slag me off. At least go on YouTube and do it.
That's very precious.
Yeah, anyway, I did delete the tweet because I was getting people in my DMs. I was like, this isn't worth it. It's a pen. Anyway. One of them was like, calm down, 5 Ed. I was like, yeah, I've got a big head, all right. Have I? What? I didn't know. Thanks for pointing that out. Right. John Townley's green pen asks, stupid one here, all for it. For some reason, I started thinking about car brand names and if any Villa players would make good names. Just wondering how many you could come up with on the spot, and also what players would be like what cars. And they have given some examples, but we'll save them until we've had a go. Are you a car man, John? Are you into cars?
No, not really. No, I mean we bought a car before everything else went wrong, so I hate cars, to be honest. I also broke down, didn't I, the other day? So you got is it Seat Ibiza? Is that right?
Yeah.
Something to do with like Buendia? Is a bit like
Seat Buendia. Yeah, you know what? Don't mind that.
No, I don't think any of these is going to sound great, but something like that. Something about Bizot, I quite like the Bizot, the Bizot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You could see the marketing campaign around that being like the Bizot's the business.
So yeah. And then like spaced out like the BIZOT.
Yeah.
And then for some reason the like Matson. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think that already sounds like a car,
like a Hyundai Matson.
Yeah, I think there's a car. Is it a Datsun car?
Dacia, you mean? The Dacia Matson. Ooh.
No, there's a Nissan Datsun, Datsun.
Okay.
So, it's not what I was thinking of, but yeah, Datsun Matson. Yeah. The examples that were given were the Ford Konsa, which I quite like.
Yeah, Konsa works, yeah.
Well, actually, I
But
don't
it's
know.
Konsa.
I was about to say,
Konsa.
I normally say Konsa, but I've said Konsa that time.
Konsa still
Konsa
works.
sounds better for a car.
That's where I went for Bizot.
And the only example of the last bit of what players would be like is they've obviously picked a Nana for a car that breaks down a lot, which is a bit low hanging fruit. But there aren't, what else can you compare to the Leon Bailey because it's fast or whatever?
Yeah,
it doesn't really work.
I don't know enough about cars to
No, I don't really.
to give that. I'm sure some people do.
If you want to get involved in the comment section with anything we've spoken about, but also your Aston Villa car names, then please do.
Yeah, instead of leaving like a word, leave
These are usually things that are better, like crowdsourced, like people with better minds than us will come up with something that's actually good in the comments.
That won't be hard.
I hope.
Yeah.
John, thanks for your time. As always, thank you for watching along or listening to this episode of the Claret Blue podcast, which is now sponsored by NordVPN and Saley. The links that you can find to get more information about those, including different discount codes, are in the description down below. When you're going on European trips, you'll get use out of both of them. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. As we said before, leave your comments down below on Aston Villa car brand names and anything else that we've discussed as well. We'll be back next with a Claret and Brew episode with Kendrick and John if he decides to get out of bed this time. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching or listening. Bye-bye for now.